I want to speak on something that's ruminating in my mind right now about the plight of so-called African American Black communities. I'm reading this book that's it's called The 20th Century Economy of Ethiopia, and the author, he goes into details about how governments and you could say communities are established. I mean, he goes from the archaic references of living in shallow areas in mountainous areas where it's more terraneous, and then going into more of the delta marsh areas where there's more fertile plants. But you start noticing the development, the growth of the people in these areas. And with the event of growth, here comes, the author notes that in the civilization, here comes the bandits and the governments that tend to be erroneous and tend to jack people, rob people for their goods. You know what I'm saying? Where they start to the overly taxation. You get the mob mentality of extortion starts to happen, because there are groups of people who prefer not to work, but they rather get their income, they rather get their resources. They won't put themselves to strenuous labor where they sweat and all that. They're gonna get their income based off of what another man and woman does. Where they start to extort, well, because they're bigger and they're stronger than the other people that are actually out there in the fields working. So, I'm peeping that out. I'm reading this and taking it in, and as I'm reading, I'm getting ideas in my mind, because I always have questions. When I run through our communities, I see a lot of disdain and a lot of lack, in the sense of you might see the community has been disregarded in when it comes to projects of cleanliness. When it comes to building, you see a lack of enthusiasm, so to speak. I'm not speaking about all Black African American, whatever you want to name us, call us, communities. But I mean, in general, if you go throughout the South, you go throughout other places, you do see this. This is a normal thing. Okay, now as I'm reading this, though, I'm starting to see it's coming more to light. And I wanted to put this on video as a vlog, so to speak, on my thoughts on this matter. But when you have a people that's been so productive throughout their years, that brought into dreams, that had hopes and aspirations to be a great civilization, that wanted to take off themselves the shackles of the past and wanted to put away the slave mentality. And these people have in the process of doing this, have met so much resistance along the way, not just from those people that were their only oppressors, but even those who are in partnership, who capitalize with the oppressors. You got a lot of white folks who know and were born into a position where they were in a superior way taken away from the so-called black man, Negro, African American, however you want to name it, or however you want to name us. So you got that phenomenon, right? You got that going on, where you got all these people grouping up. I mean, there's so many documented occurrences where they've been taken away from us, jacking. They've been discouraging our men, discouraging our women. Every time we try, we building our families like we're created to do. You know what I'm saying, on this planet. Here comes some type of systematic way of destruction. And that wasn't just a systematic, that was also a quite brutal way of destroying us numerous times through wars, through transactions, business transactions, banking transactions, you name it. You got all these different ways of destroying our communities. I mean, once we get one thing straight, then here comes somebody and they come and jack it. Then you got those people that's within our community that tend to be traitors because they buy into the idea that, you know, we lazy, the idea that we cursed, these things that create the constant instability. You got those who come from the outside that look like us but haven't been in this country, where they think also the same things, and they're willing to be tools of destruction among us. And then you got the different religious ideologies that constantly corrupt our very being, that's parasitic to our very being. I mean, you got all these things that's going down, right? So when we are building our utopia, it gets discouraging. Not just, I mean, you got the parents, you got then the kids come along and they feel hopeless as well. When how can you feel like you can do something when every time you look around somebody's getting murdered, and it's seeming like there's no complete justice, and it's rampant. Let's talk about hunger. Let's talk about how there's a lack of ownership, true ownership. You know, I'm talking about, when I say ownership, I mean on a corporate level. I mean a bonding and coming together. And this is not because we're not good enough. It's because there are systems in place that distract and discourage us from being that greater melanated society that we ought to be. That's just what it is. So, you know, when folks come together and band together and want to speak down, and I'm talking also to these so-called black people, right? These so-called Negroes that also are negative against our community, and I've been guilty of it. Realize the obstacles that are in place, and realize that this is always going to be an uphill battle. There are other reasons that I tend to highlight to people when I have discussions with them, but there are other reasons, you understand, that places us as the underdog, because look, the people group against us for reasons such as resources that we all have inheritance to, and we don't even, a lot of us walking around super wealthy and not knowing it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's deep. It's real deep. But, I just wanted to lay that down. That was a thought. It's my thought process on why is there such a failure among us? It's seemingly so. I don't really, you know what? I'm going to say it's not really even a failure, man. I see it as a stepping stone, because we will not forget. We won't forget as we ascend to higher heights, because the next generation will be better. And then the present. That's the way this thing goes. We always evolve into something great. And I believe that we still evolving. And I believe that we will be what we ought to be. Back in the sun. Back walking in the sun. Back glorious as we're supposed to be. Period. So yeah, man, I just wanted to put that on some ears that can hear and understand what I'm kicking right now. So man, God bless you. God love you. I love you. God love you even more. Peace.